name is Joon Lee.
I'm Joshua Johnson.
And welcome back to our season finale of
English Pop. You know, June, I've noticed recently, within the last 5 or 10 years, that the amount of information and the flow of information has dramatically increased, whether it be the internet or TV or our mobile phones. It seems like wherever we go or whatever we're doing, we are consistently bombarded with information and messages. What do you think about that?
I actually 100% agree with you, Josh. I think it's very important that we are able to take this information and process it correctly. We want to be able to make sure we can distinguish the truthful information from those pieces that are completely wrong or even plagiarized. So that's why our main focus for our topic for today's episode is going to be critical thinking and critical thinking skills. Critical thinking skills are very, very important in our daily lives and in the academic world too. With critical thinking skills, we're able to increase our chances of acquiring the knowledge that is representative and accountable of that subject. That way, it builds towards our ultimate conceptualization and understanding of the subject itself.
I totally agree with you, June. I'm very excited for this episode, and just, finishing up our big first season with critical thinking seems really exciting. Well, it's Compass Publishing, it's English Pop.
Critical thinking is a mode of thinking about any subject, content, or problem in which the thinker improves the quality of his or her thinking by skillfully taking charge of the structures of thinking and building up their intellectual standards. Let's go ahead and take another look at the quote we just saw, especially at this smaller portion of it. The thinker improves the quality of his or her thinking by skillfully taking charge of the structures. Now, many of you may be confused or wondering about certain portions of this quote, such as improving the quality of our thinking or taking charge of the structures themselves. At this point, I do want to introduce the fundamental ideas or stages of critical thinking called Bloom's Taxonomy. Let's go ahead and take a closer look at each stage. Bloom's taxonomy has 6 different stages. Let's look at the knowledge section. The knowledge section is going to be the foundation start of the critical thinking process. In this section, we're going to recall the information, have discovery, observations, listing, locating, or naming of informational details. Next, we come to the comprehension stage. In this stage, we take our base knowledge and we make sure that we're able to understand, translate, summarize, demonstrate, and start basic discussions. In the third stage, application, this is where we take the information and use and apply the knowledge. We use problem-solving method skills and manipulate, design, or experiment with the acquired knowledge. In the fourth stage, analysis, this is where we start to identify and analyze certain patterns. We look at the organization of ideas and recognize certain trends that we find within the information. The next stage, synthesis, takes old concepts and creates new ideas. This is where design and intervention are going to play in, composing, imagining, and interfering with the information itself too. We can also modify, predict, and start combining different types of ideas and thought processes together. Finally, we have the evaluation stage. This is going to be assessing certain theories, comparisons of ideas, evaluating outcomes, solving, judging, recommending different solutions, and rating the whole skill process itself.
Well, thanks, June, for telling us more about Bloom's taxonomy. Now that we've had a chance to learn more about that, let's take a look at the academic benefits of critical thinking. Now, when we think about this, we're going to talk about 3 different principles. The first one is to understand the arguments and beliefs of others. The second one is to be able to evaluate those arguments and beliefs. And the third is to be able to develop your own arguments and beliefs. So June, do you know how we can achieve this?
That's actually a very great question, Joshua. We do have a very simple set structure. We call it the 5C structure. Now, following this kind of methodology, for example, let's go ahead and take a look at an article or reading in the classroom. The first C is going to be comprehension. Can you read the article? Can you see the new language being used and understand that core basic knowledge itself from the text? Now the second C is going to be communication. Can we take that base knowledge, that information, and pass it along to someone else in the classroom or just explaining it to? The third C is going to be creativity or creative thinking. Now we're going to take this base knowledge that we communicated within our group and try to apply different skills in the future, such as problem solving. The fourth C is going to be curiosity. Up to this point, we're going to make sure the students are finding their own way to be motivated to learn their own information, acquire new knowledge along this process. Now the fifth C is going to be confidence. As a student or user of these steps progresses with their own knowledge and increases their own skills, they're going to have more confidence and self-awareness and more self-esteem with the capabilities they can use this process with in future articles.
Okay, yeah, I really understand that. And Compass Publishing was taking this into account, the 5 C's and also Bloom's Taxonomy, when they developed their new critical thinking book, On Point. And we're going to take a look at On Point. Coming up here, we're going to take a look at the scope and sequence and go through a unit together. On Point Scope and Sequence utilizes Bloom's Taxonomy throughout its unit structures. First, we acquire the knowledge through reading the passage and learning the target vocabulary. Second, the reading skill is what stimulates our understanding of the theme and concepts found in the reading passage. Third, after acquiring the knowledge and understanding the key issues and factors of the topic, we can begin to tap into our critical thinking traits by breaking down the information encountered in the reading into ideas that add up to our comprehension. Fourth, we can then use this application to analyze our thoughts by engaging in new thought-provoking activities, such as discussion or further reading, to accumulate on our existing ideas. Fifth, ultimately the unit leads up to a final output for the entire topic by asking us to make an evaluation on the matter in hand. This is done through gathering our thoughts on our initial understanding of the topic, in contrast to the outcomes we discovered later on through analyzing the topic.
Now let's go ahead and take an activity that's going to practice critical thinking skills in the classroom. This activity is going to be called Tap in Debate. Now there are 3 main purposes or focuses for this activity. The first one is to improve listening and speaking skills of the students. The second one is to organize information of sound developed arguments. And finally, third, the most important skill is to begin exercising critical thinking skills of the arguments that they have developed. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the setup of Tap in Debate. First, you're going to choose a controversial topic. For our example, we're looking at Book 1, Unit 10, topic being narcissism. You can see that this is the second additional reading from the main reading objective. Next, have the students prepare the argument after reading it either alone or in class together. Now, depending on the student's skills, the time allotment can be ranging from 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes too. Arrange the chairs so that there are 2 hot seats. In this situation, it'll be 1 student versus 1 student at a time. Now that you arrange the 2 teams, 1 member from each team facing each other, you're going to give them a pre-allotted time for them to argue each point. Now, depending on your class size or your class time, you can make it 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes each. Now, after each student has been able to present their argument, when the time is up, we're going to tap them out while the next member of their team comes in. Now, the most important part about this is the second or third student is not going to give their own opinion, but they're going to continue the idea and argument point from the previous member. Now, the outcome of this game is to first show and try to make students have an effort to understand different opinions. The second focus is going to be having them show and represent a willingness to change their own minds when evidence is presented. And finally, trying to have the students look for possible solutions to their current problem. Now, these skills and applications or practice is going to lead for and develop a better and more knowledgeable student and more objective individual in the future.
So when it comes to critical thinking, it's important to realize that there are some limitations when trying to achieve it. And we like to call these the barriers to critical thinking. Okay, so let's talk about them. One of them is egocentric thinking, which is basically believing something because I believe it's true. Another one is sociocentric thinking, and that is believing something because we as a group believe it to be true. And then we have unwarranted assumptions, which is basically believing something because we assume it to be true. Another one we have is wishful thinking, and that's just believing something because we wish it to be true. And finally, we have relativistic thinking, and that is just believing something because it's your own opinion. So teachers should really think about this when they are doing activities or having debates in class. And let's take a look now and talk about how we can break through these barriers in our next section. It's important to ask yourself these questions to break through the barriers that are preventing you from becoming a critical thinker. First, clarity. Is the information presented clearly to make it easy to understand? Second, accuracy. Does the information deliver true and correct information without distortion? Third, precision. Can the information provide necessary and exact specific details? Fourth, relevance. Does the information relate to the issue in hand? Fifth, depth. Am I engaged with the complexities of the issue? Sixth, breadth. Does the information deliver the necessary context and relationships? Seventh, logic. Are my conclusions followed from the claims and statements being made? And finally, eighth, fairness. Do my claims avoid privileging based on bias?
Well, Joshua, we covered a lot of information in today's episode. Now, earlier, you talked about how information and media bombards us. Has your opinion changed at all?
Well, actually, I think that the amount of information that we're going to receive on a daily basis is only going to increase as time goes on, but the way we process it is going to change. And that's why critical thinking is going to be such an important skill in the future. And that's why Compass Publishing's book On Point does such a good job of teaching that skill to students.
Now, you make an excellent point of how important critical thinking skills are, and it's important for us to understand that education must be transformed into thinking rather than knowledge as its guiding priority.
Great point, Joon. I'm Joshua Johnson.
And I'm Joon Lee.
And this is English Pop, and we want to thank you a lot for watching this season, and we're going to be back next season. I'm Joshua Johnson.
And I'm Joon Lee.
Thanks again for watching English Pop. And if you like what you saw, please click below to subscribe.
You can also follow us on our Facebook and our Twitter accounts. And if you look at the description below, you'll see all of our links to our resources discussed in our series. And of course, you are always welcome to comments down below also.
And for all of our users in China, please don't forget to follow us on YouTube. Well, thanks a lot for tuning in. We'll see you here again next time on English Pop.